MZTV.
I'm a little tired. Can you see it in my eyes? I pre-lit my cigar so that I wouldn't cause some of you to be distracted. I'm being thoughtful, I think, considering the feelings of others and yet not sacrificing my own enjoyment. Not that I really enjoy this, I don't. Every cigar I've ever smoked tastes like dog poop. Then Martin, why do you smoke them? Because it seems like the most outrageous thing I could do. I tried to live my life perfectly. I tried to live a good life. And then things fell apart, even in the midst of me trying to do everything right. So I said, why am I doing everything right? It's not that I became a bank robber or anything after that. I didn't start selling drugs or taking them. I just thought, what's the craziest thing I could do? And it came to me, smoke a cigar, because I never smoked my entire life. A smoking article never touched my lips. And I was living in Pennsylvania. It was 2013, and they had these little Italian cigars like the kind Clint Eastwood used to smoke and all those westerns. It was called an Avanti. And they dared me to smoke it. I didn't feel any peer pressure until I was like 50 years old. Then I started to feel it. Isn't that weird? In high school, didn't feel it at all. I couldn't care less what those other people said. But the Pilkingtons in Pennsylvania, who I lived with at age 50, had to try these Avantis. I felt really rebellious, and I thought, you know what? Why not just live a little bit? So here I am, smoking a cigar. All this to say that actually that has nothing to do with what I'm about to say. What I'm about to tell you, I'm going to explain a little loose end I left 2 days ago concerning the snatching away of the body of Christ. This language is so exact from the Apostle Paul, and it's so illustrative, and it comforts me to know that God has all the details covered. It's like you can't really read this and not be impressed that this is not a vain imagination. You just get this feeling that this is so detailed. People in the book of Revelation say, well, it's all figurative. Okay, well, the locusts are going to come for 5 months. What's 5 months of figure of speech for? 6 months? There's going to be 144,000 sealed on their foreheads to go through the day of indignation. 12,000 from each tribe. 12 times 12 is 144, and yet I'm told that it's all figurative. Well, what is 144,000 a figure of speech for? What is God trying to say when he says 144,000? Is he trying to say 145,000? Is he trying to say 6,409? Or is it possible that he's trying to say 144,000? So keep that in mind as we go now and read again this passage that I read to you 2 days ago from 1 Corinthians chapter 15. You're going to see how beautiful this is. I mentioned to you that the dead will hear the trumpet, and those who are alive will see Christ. We'll be changed when we toss our eye toward him. The dead will be changed at the last trump. Now I'm going to read that again, and this time I'm going to just tie a loose end up that I wasn't satisfied that I really tied up 2 nights ago. This is Paul, verse 50, 1 Corinthians 15. Now this I'm averring, brethren, stating this forcefully. Flesh and blood is not able to enjoy an allotment in the kingdom of God. This is a simple problem. We're of flesh and blood now. Remember, Paul said that the fleshly comes first, having this awkward blood, this viscous red substance with capillaries and corpuscles and vessels. It doesn't have vessels, it travels through vessels. It's very awkward. This comes first, and then the spiritual body comes later that'll suit us for a celestial realm. But there's a practical reason for that, and this is so good. Paul says, flesh and blood is not able to enjoy an allotment of the kingdom of God. God has so many pleasures for us ahead, stored ahead, so many pleasures, so many great, crashing, wonderful, just astounding, clanging events of pure joy that we couldn't contain it in these bodies. That's what Paul means here. Flesh and blood, every time I start my show, my nose starts itching. All day, it never itches. Never itches. And then as soon as I turn the camera on, I feel like putting a cigar right up here and just burning it out, burning the itch out. Frustrating this life. Flesh and blood is not able to enjoy an allotment. Remember, an allotment is a special place in the kingdom, the highest of the highs. And flesh and blood is too weak to listen to this, flesh and blood is actually too weak, too fragile to contain the glory and the pleasure. That's the thing. That's the thing. You can only have so much pleasure in this life. You start to lose it. This is why rock stars and movie stars go crazy, because everything goes well for these people. They make a gazillion dollars. The men get all the hot starlets, and the starlets get all the handsome leading men, and these people live in giant mansions, and they drive sports cars, and they look beautiful, and everybody just envies them. And why is it that these people are so miserable? Why is it that some of them, they take drugs because they can't handle the pleasure? They can't handle. We're not meant to handle this much good times. We really aren't. And I really think in this life I am more suited to disappointment and discouragement, because that's what I'm used to. And when things start to go well for me, I'm like, can I take this? You start to freak out a little bit. That's what successful people, they can't handle it. It's not that they necessarily can't handle the responsibility or they can't handle the pressure. I think it comes down to 1 Corinthians 15. Flesh and blood is not able to enjoy an allotment in the kingdom of God. The enjoyment and the pleasure that we're meant to have, it will take a complete change of these bodies in order to contain it without taking drugs, in order to enjoy it without popping pills or shooting heroin or smoking cigars, for that matter. I can't handle it. Sometimes I'm writing a sentence and I think it's the best sentence I've ever written, or I finished an article. It's so great I can't contain myself. I can't help it. I have to like come outside and just walk around because I can't handle how great it is. And I get an inkling then that of this verse, flesh and blood, of which we're constituted at this time, is not able to enjoy an allotment. Hell, I can't even enjoy a good sentence before I just start to get nervous about it. I don't know. I can't handle the responsibility of it. I can't accept the fact that I wrote it. I don't know what it is, but do you find this, or is it just me? It's easier to deal with failure sometimes, I think. So there's less pressure involved with it, for one thing. And plus, our bodies are made for failure. This flesh and blood, yeah, it's very suited for sickness, disease, and failure. Oh, yeah, it's really good for that. Not so good at enjoying an allotment in the kingdom. So that's why our bodies have to be changed. Lo, a secret to you I am telling. Oh, yeah. Neither is corruption enjoying an allotment of incorruption. Okay, lo, a secret to you am I telling. Here's the thing. I'm going to go over this again. I'm going to give you more detail than I gave you 2 nights ago. We all indeed shall not be put to repose. And again, you're in the Bible. You're in the Bible. You're right here. We all shall not be put to repose. And we're the ones who won't be. He was talking about us, Paul was. Yet we all shall be changed in an instant. Okay, here's how this reads in the concordant version. Now, punctuation is not inspired. So in the concordant version, we lose the beauty of different things happening for the dead, a different thing happening for the dead than what happens for the living. And this is what I mean. We all, comma, indeed, comma, shall not be put to repose, comma, I'm reading it from the concordant literal New Testament, yet we shall all be changed, comma, in an instant, in the twinkle of an eye, which I explained to you is not twinkle, it's toss. The Greek word ripto, it means toss, T-O-S-S. In every context where this word and its root and its associated word ripe appears, it means toss. So the concordant has it punctuated this way. We shall all be changed, comma, in an instant, comma, in the twinkle of an eye, comma, at the last trump. It sounds like everybody's being changed in the same way. In an instant, in the tossing of an eye, at the last trump. It sounds like that is common to everybody. But watch how I'm going to punctuate this. And remember, punctuation is not inspired, so I have complete right to mess with the punctuation. It's like when Jesus said to the thief on the cross. And because of this mispunctuation, some people think that there's no such thing as death and that Jesus did not die. And this is a horrible teaching because it denies the death of Christ, obviously. Jesus said to the thief on his right or on his left, forget which one, he said, I say to you, comma, today you shall be with me in paradise. And because of that ill-placed comma, the teaching goes out that I say to you today, that is that day, the day Jesus Christ died, he was going to be in paradise with the thief on the cross, who wasn't a believer. And the paradise speaks of the park on the new earth. It speaks of the new earth, not even the millennial earth. So how could How could Jesus have died, and how could all of a sudden we be 1 eon ahead on that same day in the park that is the garden in the new earth? How could it be? But you have to somehow make that work out if you're going to put the comma there. But if you put the comma after today, here's what happens. Jesus says to him, I say to you today, you shall be with me in paradise. Let's say I'm going to go to Evansville, Indiana to do a conference at Dean and Amy's house. I call Dean and I say, Dean, I say to you today, I shall be in Evansville. How different is that than I call Dean and I say to you, today I shall be with you in Evansville. Dean would say, oh, wait a minute, we got to get the house cleaned up. Sorry, we're not ready for you. We need to wash the sheets. No, I'm saying it to you today. I shall be there next week. I could easily add that. I say to you today, Dean, I shall be in Evansville next week. So Jesus is talking to this thief and he says, I say to you today. Today I'm saying it. You shall be with me in paradise. The thief would go, when? Jesus would say, 3,000 years from now. Yeah, 3,000 years from now. That would have been a little depressing if the thief heard that. Jesus said, I say to you, today you shall be with me in paradise 3,000 years from now. The thief would go, how's that supposed to help me? Well, I wouldn't have been too happy of a guy. Well, he was a thief. I don't know. The guy deserves a break because he scolded the other guy who was chiding Jesus. You say you're the Messiah, get the hell off this cross. The guy said, hey, settle down, man. We're here because we did wrong. This guy didn't do anything wrong. I read his press release. I talked to his people. He didn't do anything wrong. Jesus turned to him and said, I say to you today, you shall be with me in paradise. When? 3,000 years from now. Why do I say 3,000? Well, it was 2,000 from that time to this. The thief still ain't there because the thief is dead. And Jesus was dead. But the thing with Jesus is he raised after 3 days. The thief is still dead. Still dead. And he will rise when? Well, at the great white throne. That's the next time that guy will see the light of day. The last thing he remembered, he died on a cross. Terrible way to die. Wouldn't recommend it myself. He'll wake up at the great white throne, and he'll be judged in accord with his acts. And his acts will be found to be righteous. And there's the one that was crucified next to him, the Son of God, the one with all power and all authority. And he looks at him and he winks. Remember me? Oh my God. You imagine the fellowship that Christ is going to have with that guy? We're going to see it. We're going to watch it happen. We're going to see the reunion between Jesus Christ and that thief. But the thing is, the other thief's going to be there too. Oh yeah, the other thief's going to be there. And it could be that everyone is judged at the great white throne, not in accord with faith, but in accord with their acts. I'm getting off the topic, am I? This tablecloth is dusty. Look at this. I'm getting off the topic, but that's okay. Both thieves are going to be there, the guy on the left and the guy on the right. And those at the great white throne are judged in accord with their acts. That is how they behaved, what they did in this life. And those whose names are written in the book of life, they will go to the new earth. They have life. Life. The only life is at the new earth. The only life where humans are going to inhabit. And those who are going to inhabit is the new earth. Those whose names are those whose names are not written in the book of life, they will go to the lake of fire, which is what, class? Revelation 20:14. What's the lake of fire? The second death. I just watched a video by a guy who said the lake of fire was a time of refinement when people learn all about Jesus and they learn all these great things in a place called the second death. Anyway, I've been through that many times. A lot of people believe that. A lot of people believe it. So there's both thieves. And we're going to see this. We're going to see this reunion. And I have a feeling just now, I'm going to get back to this punctuation, 1 Corinthians 15, because that's what I'm driving at. Just meandering around to get there. That thief that chided Jesus on the cross, like, Lord, save us. Who could blame the guy? Have you ever been crucified? I haven't. I like to think I'm a decent guy. I'm kind of patient, kind of nice, kind of kind. Well, maybe not patient. I'm kind. I'm a good person. And I speak kindly, and I'm just a real civil person. If I'm nailed to a cross, and I know that the guy next to me has raised people from the dead, and he's done all these wonderful acts, fed 5,000. His fame went all over the land. And he said, hey, I wouldn't put it past myself to say, psst, psst, now would be a good time for a miracle. Can't blame the guy. And it's amazing. It's a miracle itself that the other thief said, how can you reason when you're crucified? Excuse me, sir, but I believe you speak hastily. I would not be so quick to be so judgmental and flippant with this man here. Why don't we pause for a moment and think of this? Excuse me, centurion, may we have a cup of tea? It's amazing that this guy had his wits about him to say, to chide the other guy, say, hey, we deserve this. This guy doesn't deserve anything. I talked to his people. I saw the press release, so knock it off. And then he turns to Jesus, remember me, Lord. This is the whole, remember me, Lord, when you come into your kingdom. That's when Jesus said to him, remember me, Lord. But I think the guy on the left just had a bad moment. He was having a bad day. Things were not going well for him. And so he was like, I got an idea. A bad moment. Anybody ever thought of this? We got the Messiah here. But what if that guy, I think that he's going to get into the New Earth. I think his name's written in the book of life because he was having a bad day. And I think that ordinarily he wouldn't have said things like that when he's sitting at home smoking a pipe, reading a book to his children, having sex with his wife, and not being crucified. I think he was probably quite an agreeable guy. That the man on the right could say what he did was just freaking miracle. So I think we're going to see that. Well, I know we're going to see it. We're going to be there. Can you imagine that reunion? That's going to be great. All right. That's the power of punctuation. Now let's go back to this. Lo, a secret to you am I telling. We all indeed shall not be put to repose, yet we shall all be changed in an instant. That's we'll all be changed in an instant. Now, what do you see what I'm going to do at the end of the word instant? But you see what I did? I ran right past the comma that A. Enoch put in there. We shall all be changed. We shall all be changed, comma, in an instant, comma, at the last trump. It sounds like we're all going to be changed in an instant at the tossing of an eye at the last trump. But look what happens when I run right over that comma. Yet we shall all be changed in an instant. We'll all be changed in an instant. Instead of we'll all be changed, comma, in an instant, comma, at the casting of an eye, the tossing of an eye, comma, at the last trump. So that sounds like everything that follows the word changed is common to all of us, but it's not. But that's the treachery of that comma. I do not like that comma. This comma keeps me awake at night. I'm not having it. So this is what I'm going to do. And I have every right to do this. Punctuation is not inspired. I'm going to do this. I invite you to do it with me. Don't try this at home, folks. I'm a trained professional. So you want to run right over that comma. We all shall not be put to repose, yet we shall all be changed in an instant. So that's the common denominator. What is all? The all is considering two parties, the dead and the living. Those are the two parties in consideration here because each one has a problem. Yeah, what's the problem for the dead? They're dead. That's a big problem. Big problem for them. What's the problem for the living? It's like, well, we're here standing and we have to go to the celestial realm. It's almost easier for the dead because nobody's seen them in a few thousand years anyway, or in some cases 50 years, 20 years. Nobody's seen them for a while, so to raise them from the dead is no big deal. It's still a problem because they're dead, but for Christ it's not a problem. God's not a problem. They have the power. But for the living, it's a problem because people are like they're walking around. So we have two groups. And the thing in common with both groups is we shall all be changed in an instant. The instant is the common denominator. Now watch what I do at the end of instant. Knock puts a comma there. I'm going to put a colon there. That's right. You heard it right. You heard me correctly. I'm going to put a colon there. So we'll all be changed in an instant. Colon. In the tossing of an eye. A. Put an A. we shall all be changed in an instant. That's the common denominator of both the living and the dead, changed in an instant. We shall all be changed in an instant, colon, category A now, in the tossing of an eye, and then B at the last trump, because these are the two categories. So we'll all be changed in an instant, both the living and the dead. A, the living, I'm adding this, the living changed in the twinkle of an eye, the dead at the last trump. How do you get away with putting living and dead in there? Because of this, the very next sentence is, for he will be trumpeting and the dead will be roused. You see, the trumpet is related to the dead, for he will be trumpeting and the dead will be roused. It doesn't say he will be trumpeting and then all will be roused. See, he does not say he will be trumpeting and then all will be roused. If that was the case, then the trumpeting would include both the living and the dead. But he says he will be trumpeting and the dead will be roused. So then go back to the colon at the end of instant. We shall all be changed. That is, the dead and the living shall all be changed in an instant. That's the common denominator. Colon, A, in the twinkle of an eye, B, at the last trump. The last trump is for the dead. Therefore, what is the twinkle of the eye? What is the tossing of an eye for? It's for the living. That's the only category left. Ho ho! It's the only category left is the living. And it makes sense because light is faster than sound. Light is faster than sound. So the living are changed at the tossing of an eye. That's the right translation. Watch my show from 2 days ago. Number, I don't know, 4, 11, 12, something like that. We're going to toss an eye. Remember, we're going to toss our eye. The living are going to see him. They're going to toss an eye toward where he is. The dead, it takes a trumpet to raise those people. But we're never going to hear the trumpet. We're going to toss our eye desperately, ready for change toward where he is. And again, I'll end this show the way I ended the show 2 days ago. We'll toss our eye to where he is because we will not be able to wait to see him. And when we see him, to borrow verse from 1 John, when we see him, we will be like him, for we shall see him as he is.